the people to know that, that you never should give up, because as a child, I didn't have the diagnosis yet, but I was always, reprimanded at school because I was disturbing classrooms. I couldn't concentrate. I was very nervous, and they were always yelling at me. So I didn't, of course, you don't like that. And it gave me a very negative self-image, because they said Ria is lazy. She is capable of doing more, but she just doesn't do it. I couldn't, but that was, there was no diagnosis yet. When I look at it now, I think it is like ADHD or whatever. But at that time, there was no diagnosis. So by the time I got 18, I was so glad to be able to leave school.
For joining us here on Inspire. My name is Emertha, and I'm the talk show host for Inspire. And it will be definitely lovely to hear you all introducing yourselves to the viewers so that we know who you are. I've known Ria for some time, but yeah, it would be lovely, obviously, for the viewers to know who you are.
So I'm Ria, and 64 years ago, I was born, and I had a medical disorder called neurofibromatosis. But at that time, it was not known to me. Now, this talk is about detoxing, but in fact, I think it's much more than detox. For me, it is at least a story about not giving up hope when there's no hope, according to the medical world. Yeah.
Excellent. And doctor, would you kindly also introduce yourself to the viewers whenever you're ready?
My name is Affordability, and I'm a medical doctor in close to Antwerp in Belgium, and I'm treating patients with chronic diseases that often don't find solutions in the regular medical field. I started about almost 30 years ago, and quite soon I got allergic to the sentence, "You have to learn to live with it." I thought that's what we say as a doctor too often to patients. And I think I realized we have to keep looking for the root cause of the disease. And that's much more often unknown. And then people have to learn to live with it, which I think is not an answer or that you can give to patients without looking further.
Lovely. So thank you all for the lovely introduction. Ria, you gave me a hint on your story, which was like, I want this story on Inspire because it's so inspiring, and I thought many people would benefit from your story. So Ria, would you stand again, tell me a story of never giving up on yourself, from your childhood, the difficulties that you went through, and how you managed to this age where you are, and even having an inspirational story to share out to the world for people to never give up on themselves. So Ria, tell me your story. So exciting.
Okay, thank you, Emmy, for the opportunity. And this is really what I want the people to know, that you never should give up, because as a child, I didn't have the diagnosis yet, but I was always, reprimanded at school because I was disturbing classrooms. I couldn't concentrate. I was very nervous, and they were always yelling at me. So I didn't, of course, you don't like that. And it gave me a very negative self-image, because they said Ria is lazy. She is capable of doing more, but she just doesn't do it. I couldn't, but that was, there was no diagnosis yet. When I look at it now, I think it is like ADHD or whatever. But at that time, there was no diagnosis. So by the time I got 18, I was so glad to be able to leave school. And I started working. Sorry?
You said you're so glad to leave the school.
Yes, because I was always reprimanded. I couldn't do, much good because I couldn't concentrate. It was only later when that I found out that I had this disease, neurofibromatosis. The doctor will be able to tell more about this, but it has to do with the malfunctioning of doctor, help me.
It's actually a DNA genetic problem that has an effect on the nervous functioning,
and also in the brain and the skin.
Yeah.
And the questionable advantage of it is that you can see the progress on the skin because you get fibromes. And I had felt that when I was nervous, when I was under huge stress, these start to develop on my skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I went to the Center of Human Heredity in Brussels, and they told me, well, you have to live with it. It's neurofibromatosis, and that's it, And maybe, sorry?
To interrupt. How that make you feel when a doctor tells you that you've got to learn how to live with it, and knowing that this makes you get frustrated, you left school, and it makes your life miserable, and you've got to really live with it? How did you feel, Ria?
Yes, because they said the words, what is often happening is that you can get blind, or you get the fibromes in the brain. Now, that is not a funny thing to look forward to. So in the beginning, I was just very sad, and also it's genetic. So they told me, and I had given birth to 2 children. So I felt very, very, very bad, because what is it that you give to your children, and you just have to learn to live with it, they say. So I was very unhappy, and then, but very soon after that, I thought, I don't believe this, because I think that maybe there is something wrong, but there is always a solution, but you just have to find it, because in the universe, the nature or God or whatever is so clever. It cannot be that there is not a solution. All I have to do is go on and try to find it and never give up. And that's
sorry, Doctor, would you again elaborate more on this neurofibromatosis, if I'm pronouncing it right? So what is it like? Because it sounds so scary.
Well, it's, as I said, it's a problem with DNA, and it has this effect. Often people see it first with the brown, what we call café au lait spots on the skin that develop. In the beginning, they can come and go, and that can be a first symptom of the disease. But it has an enormous effect on the development of fibromes on the nervous tissues in the brain, which have, of course, on the neurological functioning, a severe effect. But what people always think is, if it's genetic, there's nothing I can do about it. And that's not absolutely true, because yes, genes matter, genes make us who we are. But there's, besides of the genetic part, there is the epigenetic part. That means everything that's around us, the way we eat, the way we drink, what we inhale, the world, the toxicity around us, that is actually making a mistake or a bad gene to develop or to express or not. For example, if I would compare it with breast cancer, what a lot of people know, in the last 50 years, the amount of breast cancer patients rise enormously, while the genetic factor on breast cancer, the amount of women that have the positive genetic mistake isn't higher than it was 50 years ago. So genetically, there's no difference, but in reality, we see an enormous rise. So that's because the epigenetics, our environment, the toxicity in the world, got so much worse in the last 50 years that this bad gene develops a cancer much more often now than it was 50 years ago. And that's, with all the genetic things, an issue that the toxicity has the possibility to stimulate mistakes in our DNA to express themselves.
Right. And Ria, you you realized that this sickness was a genetic one, and you had you had your two children. So what was your fear? Was it that you're gonna transfer it to your children?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Of course. This is not something you want to transfer. Yeah. So I was, yes. And they leave you just, they tell you this and that's it. You can go because we cannot help you. And then they said, maybe you can take, some things to calm down, antidepressives or something like that. But I used it once and I thought never again, because this is not a life you live, So I started looking for solution and different ways of eating, and some things helped. But there was always inside this very nervous thing inside me. And I went also through personal development things, which also helped. And there I learned that as a child, right after my birth, I was given Softenon, which I don't know if this is international, but at least in my country, in Belgium, it has that name. And it was taken out after a couple of years. It was taken back because many pregnant women took it to calm down. And then they had these babies born without arms, without legs. And only after a couple of years, the pharmaceutical company took it out. And it was given to me by my parents, probably because they thought, oh, well, it's good for pregnant women. We can give it, it's good for a baby to stay calm, because apparently I was always crying. Yeah. So and that I found out, but this is something you wear, you take along, and maybe, I don't know, but I was always a bad sleeper and always very nervous. So in what way did this had an influence on my nervous system? I don't know. So I went on looking.
I was about to ask you, growing up and knowing that you had to live with it, and having that stigma or maybe discrimination that you are lazy, you can't concentrate, probably made you feel like you couldn't make it in life. Is that true?
Yes, and I was very highly, how should I say, when somebody feels a small thing, for me it's 100 times harder, I think. So when people said something to me, like it comes in very hard, and my reaction would be very hard as well. So in my relations were very bad. I had very bad relationships. So with my family, with friends, everything went wrong, And I really think this had to do with all this, with this issue. Yeah. I lost my job, and you lose everything. You lose your family, you lose your job.
Oh, doctor, really tell us, how can someone deal with such a problem? I mean, knowing what Ria had to go through, and losing everything because of something she was born with, and she doesn't know how it came about, and you end up losing everything. So how do you really deal with such problems as a doctor when you get such a case?
Well, the thing is that we always have to see how can we get to the root of this problem. And in my experience, toxicity is always essential to address. And of course, you have to do it not too aggressively, because if we detox aggressively, then the whole body can react on it. And especially people that are sensitive, like people with neurofibromatosis are, if you put there a heavy detox program in, they will get worse. They will get sick, and they will eventually stop any treatment because they don't want to feel worse than they already feel. But it is an essential issue to address. So that's why I like to work with the Clean Slate, clinoptilolite detox product, which is very strong, but very gentle. We call it like an essential supplement for everybody with a chronic disease, because it's a passive detox product that it's taken in drops. So you can actually give it little by little. You don't have to take one big pill that comes in like a bomb. But for example, I had a patient that I started on this with 1 drop, and she said, half an hour later, I had a migraine. And like, okay, that's not what I want. But she said, I tried it 3 times, always a few days in between, and every time again, I had a migraine, which tells me, she said, that I need it, but I can't tolerate it. Then I told her, okay, put the 1 drop in a liter of water and drink half of it during the day and see how that goes. Well, that was fine. No reaction, no migraine. And so she could start up with 1 drop spaced out through the day, and the next one the next day. And after a few days, she could do it with 2 drops. I mean, but that's something you cannot do with every product, because a lot of products is like, this is the pill and this you have to take. And it's amazing how much can change already just by using 1 drop of this passive detox product, because the nervous system, which is inflamed because of the toxicity, the burden gets off, the threshold is getting lower and can start reacting again in a normal way. So sometimes even in only a week, people tell me, I'm calmer, my pain is less, and then if we see it goes well, we can build up the treatment and add extra things. But the first part is always the detox.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Doctor, for such a explanation. So, Ria, you finally got a solution from this problem. So you had to see your life in a different perspective, not giving up on yourself. So how did that happen? I mean, tell us your journey until you met the doctor who gave you the hope.
Yeah, that was, so I was always looking for solutions and to calm down this nervous system. And some years ago, I started transcendental meditation, and that was a huge tool for me. It really, really helped me a lot. And it was, and at that time, I went to a medical doctor, but he died some years ago, and I had to find someone else. But since I meditated, my condition was better. Yeah. So, but in the group meditation, there was a person, and he said, I know a good doctor, and I think you should go and see her. But it never happened until when beginning of last year, when the pandemic started, I got scared, and I thought, well, if something happens, I really would not need a doctor, but I want to find someone whom I can trust, or I feel I can trust. And then in July, there was a webinar in the US from the Transcendental Meditation Group and a biological center also in the US. And when I heard this this doctor speaking, I thought, this is so interesting, because in fact he spoke like Dr. Anne was speaking, and he said, if you want to find someone, maybe you can see here on the website and find someone in your area. So I did so, and it was the doctor that the guy in the center had told me. So I think this is not a coincidence. I have to go and see her. And that is how I got to Dr. Anne. And then it started, she told me to use the detox and to start very carefully. But sometimes, I've been waiting for so many years. So I started very carefully, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops. And then I thought, oh, well, it doesn't work. I'll take 10. And, and so the next day I was on fire. But all the fibromes were on fire, and I thought, what is this? Because only the fibromes, that must mean that there is something with toxicity with these fibromes, because if not, I would have it all over my body. So I was really, I thought, I have to admit to the doctor that I didn't listen. But she said, okay, it'll be okay, calm down. And that really happened. But after it calmed down, after some weeks, I saw that my skin was really changing. I got, it was much smoother. And the fibromes always start with a small inflammation, like red, and then it becomes bigger. And then I saw the color was changing, and then they were disappearing. The smallest were this. I say, what is going on here? This is wow. I'm so thrilled about this. And I saw the doctor again. I told her that what happened. And also I had received 2 bottles by accident. And my partner here in the house had an operation, a heart operation. And I had called the doctor, and she said, yes, he can start using it as well. So that's what he did. And well, after a few weeks, the whole situation was changing. He was back fully alive. His hands, he had no blood. How do you say this, doctor? Circulation, yes, right. And it all changed. The blood circulation started again, and it was, yeah. So now I have already many people talked into this, and with great results. So, but of course the doctor can tell more. But for me, at least, there is, I have the mental detox, I have the physical detox. I feel much better, and I hope that one day I'll be all clean.
So, doctor, tell us more about that detox and how people can get better. I mean, there could be other people probably dealing with this same problem, maybe without realizing what they're going through or how to get out of it. So how is it? Tell us, how do people really access such a services to detox themselves and all that?
Well, the thing is, we come into this world already with toxicity. We don't realize it, but toxic heavy metals, toxic substances pass from mother to child and can go several generations back. Like for the moment now, we don't have, for example, mercury thermometers anymore, but the generations before had it, and people often played with it, the little balls, etc. Now we have a lot of toxicity in our environment. The kids, they play with plastics, they chew on it, they take it inside the cans where we have our drinks in, etc. And so it adds and it adds and it adds, and we have a good detox machine in our body, the liver and the kidneys. But at a certain point, that the capacity is reached, and then you start having symptoms. And the thing is that everybody's body is different. In some people, the toxicity will be put safely away in fat cells. They gain weight, they gain fat, but they don't have physical problems. Other people won't do that, and there it will store, for example, in the joints or in the tissues, in the nerve, and they will develop pain symptoms. And that's sometimes difficult because the symptom of the toxicity is different from person to person. And often we start with a cleanse, a detox in the spring, just a few weeks that we eat healthy, that we don't drink alcohol, but that's okay for the big organs to get rid of some of the toxicity, but that doesn't go as deep as going into all the tissues and in the nervous system and in the brain.
Doctor, if I may take you back, how does the toxic really become transferable, like from parent to child? How does it become genetically? If we eat differently, we take some toxic things, how do we transfer them to our unborn babies, and how does it become really genetic? I don't understand. If you could explain.
Okay, so part of it is it's the toxicity is already in our DNA, has become part of the DNA, and another part is that while we're as a woman, you're pregnant, actually the toxins that are in your body, they do pass through the placenta. So we always used to be quite like, okay, the placenta is a big filter, it protects the baby from toxins. But we see now on a newborn baby, if they test the blood, that there are at least 20 different chemicals already in the bloodstream of a baby that never had anything from food or inhaled than just after birth. So it's unbelievable. That was like 30 years ago. It wasn't like that. Then we didn't find these chemicals. It's really the last 20 years, the amount of chemicals that are used in the environment, in food production, etc., have raised so much that we now see it more and more in babies. A colleague of mine, Dr. Klinghardt, said if we continue like this, he thinks that by 2050 there will not be healthy children born anymore. He said, you see now already the amount of children with allergies, with diseases like, or not disease, or symptoms like autism, ADHD, all these neurological new things that we didn't have 20 years ago, as much as we have now, are all the result of toxicity in these little kids. And he said, now if you see how many kids have a diagnosis even before they're 10 years old, that's not how it was 20, 30 years ago. And then some people say, yeah, but then we didn't know that symptom anymore, that syndrome, or that. No, it's not because we didn't know it, it's because it really didn't exist. If I think about my childhood, you would have 1 or 2 kids in class who had problems following the class, but that wasn't half of the class. I now have kids that are in a class of 18 students, and where the teacher says there are 4 that I can teach normally and that can follow everything, and I have 14 with problems that I have to give special care and they have special needs. Yeah, we have to realize the rising numbers in cancer, in cardiovascular disease, in the neurological problems are all caused by our environment, and we have to address that. What is interesting in that is that linoptilolide, the clean slate, is actually a mineral. It's a product based on a mineral that is produced by nature thousands of years ago. It builds up, and it's already building up for thousands of years in these mines, and it's the only product that's actually capable of detoxing chemicals, but also heavy metals, even glyphosate, one of the most threatening chemicals we have now for our health. And even though these products didn't exist 100 years ago, so not even 1,000 years ago, it is capable of detoxing it. So what Ria said, nature provides. There should be a problem for the solution, because if we look at nature, there's always, if there's a herb that is really toxic, if you look in the environment, you will find the antidote for that toxin in another herb. And that's what the clean slate offers, is actually a natural product that is capable of detoxing the nowadays toxins in a gentle, passive way, without bringing the body completely on fire, unless you take too much.
Unless you take too much. So is that something that is really affordable, I mean, to everyone? Because, I don't know. Obviously, most doctors would tell you, if you've got this and this pain, you've got to take painkillers. If painkiller doesn't really work, you probably have to deal with it.
Maybe I can say something, because my financial situation was very bad. I lost my job, and I live from a very small income. So for me, it is also very important that it is affordable.
If you would just simply compare the price with a regular medicine, then people will say, oh, it's expensive, because in a normal, I think it's in England not like this, but in Belgium, most medicines are more than 80% paid by the insurance. So people pay like peanuts of what the real price is. And then, of course, in this company, you pay the whole price. But as Ria said, because they have this sharing philosophy, if people share their experience and other people start taking it, then they get money back. And I have a number of patients that actually say, now it doesn't cost me anything. And on the contrary, I make some extra income with it, and that's nice. I mean, I'm happy to help other people. It's like if you went to a nice restaurant and you really had a wonderful evening and good food, it's natural that you will tell to your friends, you should go there. And that's what they do. That's what Ria said. She felt well, so automatically she shared it with her housemate and with other friends. That's the nature of people. We wanna help. We wanna share our good experiences with other people. And because the company has integrity and science and sharing in their vision, in their core values, that it's for me so good, and it feels so good to work with this product, because I know the woman that developed the product, the people behind it, they only want to do good. They want to bring good, scientifically proven and clean products on the market, and not ripping off people. On the contrary, making sure it's available for everybody.
Amazing, amazing. So how do people get to that root brand that helped Ria? Maybe someone else would like to give it a go.
Oh, well, I think I sent you the link because I think it's great what you do, Amy.
Right. So thank you so much again. And I hope people will find this useful and start ordering their own products and see how it works.
If they have questions, of course they can mail, they can put their questions. I will put an email on there also, and then they can have questions. If of course the questions for the doctor are not.
But Ria can send them to me. It's not a problem.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
So thank you so much. I hope
Thank
to see
you.
you next time.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
nice. Bye bye.
bye.